Good afternoon, students. Today, this is my second lecture on the lymph nodes. In the last class, we have discussed the benign conditions of the lymph nodes. So today we will be discussing the neoplastic pathology of lymph node. So what do you mean by the neoplastic pathologies? They are basically three neoplastic pathologies: myeloid, lymphoid and histiocytosis. As we know, myeloid arises from the early hematopoietic progenitors. Lymphoid are the tumors of the B cells, T cells, natural killer cells origins. And histiocytosis are the uncommon proliferative lesions of macrophages and the dendritic cells. We will be dealing basically with the lymphoid neoplasm. There are two words, lymphocytic leukemias and lymphomas, and you should understand what is the difference between this. Leukemia is the neoplasm used for widespread involvement of bone marrow and the peripheral blood. You must have read in WBC classes that if the blast percentage in the peripheral smear is more than 20%, then it is known as leukemias. Lymphomas is used for proliferations of lymphoid cells that forms a discrete tissue mass. All leukemias of lymphocytes have lymphomas counterparts. That means they will have a tissue proliferations. And primary lymphomas can have leukemic phases. That means the lymphoma cells can infiltrate the peripheral blood and present as a leukemias. Any myeloid leukemias can infiltrate a lymph node or any other site, but when it does, it is not called a lymphoma, but simply a myeloid infiltrate into a lymph node. So this word is very important and you have to be very careful. We'll use the word infiltration because the myeloid cells has infiltrated the lymph node. It has come from the bone marrow. It's not the normal cells of the lymph node. And all lymphomas are malignant proliferations of the lymphocytes. So whenever the word lymphomas is used, you should be aware that this is not a normal lymphocyte, but these are the malignant lymphocytes. So lymphomas has the main categories. Nodal, it can be either nodal or extranodal. It can arise from T cells or the B cells. It can constitute of either small cells or the large cells. It can infiltrate either in a diffuse form or a follicular form, or it can be Hodgkin or non-Hodgkin. In WHO, we deal lymphomas in the broad two categories, that is Hodgkin and the non-Hodgkin lymphomas. Basically in lymphomas, what happens? The antigen receptor genes rearrangements precedes malignant transformations. So what happens after this? That means all the cells proliferations are of monoclonal origins, not the polyclonal. Polyclonal means it can vary, it can have a varied receptors positivity, and that occurs in a benign conditions. So whenever there is a monoclonal proliferation, it always indicates towards the malignant pathologies. Most common are the origin from B cells, that is 85% of the lymphomas are of B cells and only 15% are of T cells. And when we study the architecture of a lymph node, it will be either disrupted or effaced. The normal architectures are disrupted, but either the whole lymph node will be disrupted or only a partial or a small part of the lymph node can be disrupted. Now coming to the first categories, that is the non-Hodgkin lymphomas. Non-Hodgkin lymphomas are the neoplastic proliferations of mature B cells or T cells or the natural killer cells. Burkitt lymphomas and the lymphoblastic lymphomas are the most common lymphomas found in children, whereas in adults, diffuse large B cell lymphomas is the most common histologic subtype. Now when we compare these Hodgkin lymphomas with the non-Hodgkin lymphomas, non-Hodgkin lymphomas has a poor prognosis. Complete cure can be achieved only in 50% or less than 50% of the patients, whereas in Hodgkin lymphoma, complete cure can be achieved over 80% of the patients. Now let's study the origin of non-Hodgkin lymphoma subtypes. What are the cells from which it originates? Now as we know, there are two types of organs, primary lymphoid organs and the secondary lymphoid organs. The primary lymphoid organs are the bone marrow and the thymus, and secondary lymphoid organs are the lymph node, spleen and mucosa associated any other lymphoid tissues. Now in the bone marrow, as we have studied earlier, B cells and the T cells both arise from the bone marrow, but they differentiate. T cells will differentiate in the thymus and the B cells will differentiate in the bone marrow, and then it will infiltrate the further to the lymph node. Now in the bone marrow, if it arises from the pre-B common lymphocyte progenitors, that is the pre-B, then it is known as the precursor B lymphoblastic lymphoma. If it is from the naive B cell, naive means which is not activated, then it is known as the chronic lymphocytic leukemias or small lymphocytic lymphomas, that is SLL. If it arises from the plasma cell, it will lead to multiple myeloma. If it arises from the mantle, see when B cells enters the lymph node, there it forms a follicles, and as we have studied earlier, the follicles are surrounded by a dark zone that is known as the mantle zone. So if the lymphomas arise from the mantle cells, that is the B cells, it is known as the mantle cell lymphomas. And if it arises from the follicular central cells, that is germinal center B cells, then follicular lymphomas, Burkitt lymphomas, diffuse large B cell lymphomas occurs. And if it arises from the marginal zone, then it is known as marginal zone lymphomas. But apart from this, diffuse large B cell lymphomas can also arise from the marginal zone B cell and CLL or SLL also. Now T cells, it can be either double negative, that means CD4 and the CD8 negative, or it can be double positive, both CD4 and the CD8 positive, or either it can be positive. Now depending on this, it can be either double negative T cells, double positive T cells, or CD4 positive or CD8 positive T cells. And now this is known as precursor T lymphoblastic lymphomas or leukemias. And if it arises from the T cells present in the lymph node, then it is known as the peripheral T cell lymphomas. So is it clear? So depending on you should look at from origin of the cells, from which part of the lymph node it is arises, and accordingly it is named. So if anyone asks you about the marginal zone B cell, from where does it arise? As the name indicates, it arises from the marginal zone lymphomas. And multiple myeloma, as we have already read, the final differentiation stage of B cell is the plasma cells, which further form immunoglobulins. So multiple myeloma also arises in the bone marrow, that is the plasma cells present in the bone marrow. Now this is the WHO classifications. When you look at this, it is either of B cells. WHO has classified non-Hodgkin lymphoma into B cells and the T cells. Now B cells are the precursor B cell neoplasms, mature B cell neoplasms, then marginal zone B cell lymphomas, follicular lymphomas, mantle cell lymphomas, diffuse large B cell lymphomas, Burkitt lymphomas. These are the broad categories, and each has further subtypes. First, we will discuss B lymphoblastic leukemias or lymphomas not otherwise specified. See, this mostly present in the children as a ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemias, and it has as I said earlier, all the lymphocytic leukemias has a lymphoma can present as lymphoma as a counterpart. To call it as leukemias, you must get more than 20% blast in the peripheral blood or the bone marrow. B cell constitute about 10% of the lymphoblastic lymphomas, and the most common sites are the central nervous system, lymph nodes, spleen, liver and testes. Mediastinal masses are uncommon, and blasts are generally PAS positive and CD10 positive. Surface CD22, CD24, PAX5 and TDT are positive in most of the cases. These are the cells which we get. You can see these looks like the lymphocytes. These are the lymphoblasts which has high NC ratios, and the size is bit larger than the small lymphocytes. And this has coarse granules. The cytoplasm, you can see the coarse granules, and this is the lymph node. This lymphoblast has infiltrated, or here also you can see the nodules infiltrated by the abnormal lymphocytes. Now acute T cell lymphoblastic leukemias or adult T cell leukemias or lymphomas, they present as widely disseminated disease. They are caused by the human retrovirus, that is HTLV1, which also causes myelopathy or the tropical spastic paraparesis. These are most common in the adults, and the sites involved are lymphadenopathy, spleen, and extranodal sites like skin, lungs, liver, gastrointestinal tract, and CNS. There are of various types. First is the acute, most common, and is characterized by a leukemic phase, elevated white blood cell count, skin rash, and generalized lymphadenopathy with hypercalcemia with or without lytic bony lesion. Then lymphomatous. Lymphomatous are characterized by the prominent lymphadenopathy but without peripheral blood involvement. In the chronic phase, these are associated with an exfoliative skin rash, and absolute lymphocytosis may be present, but atypical lymphocytes are not numerous in the peripheral blood. Hypercalcemia is absent. And in the case of smoldering, WBC count is normal with less than 5%, with more than 5% circulating neoplastic cells, and the patient presents with skin or pulmonary lesion, but there is no hypercalcemia. Now to summarize all the three types, if you see at the lymphocytosis are seen in the chronic and the acute phase, we don't get in the smoldering phases. Abnormal lymphocytes are seen both in chronic and acute, but it is present in small amount in case of smoldering phases. LDH, calcium are normal in case of smoldering, but they are either normal or increased in case of chronic and acute. Lymphadenopathy, hepatosplenomegaly, and bone marrow infiltrations are present in variable amount in the acute phases, but they are absent in the smoldering cases. And skin rashes are present in all the three conditions, but calcium is normal in both smoldering and the chronic cases, and it may be increased or variable in the acute phase. Now you can see in the acute phase we are getting lots of blast cells or the abnormal lymphocytes, but in the chronic phase you are getting occasionally, this is 2. They are CD2, CD3 and CD5 positive, but usually lack CD7. Most cases are CD4 positive and CD8 negative. Death is often caused by the infectious complications including cryptococcal meningitis, disseminated herpes zoster, and hypercalcemia. Prognostic factors depends on the age. If the age is less than 2 years, it has a worse prognosis, and if the blast percentage are present in a high amount, if Philadelphia chromosomes are present, then again it has a worse prognosis. And favorable factors are low count, hyperploidy, trisomy of the chromosomes. Now coming to the peripheral B cell neoplasm, that is the chronic lymphocytic leukemias or the small lymphocytic lymphomas. If any person presents with lymphocytosis of more than 4000 per millimeter cube continuously for 3 months and all the chronic causes has been excluded, then it is defined as a CLL, and it should be monoclonal proliferations of the lymphocytes which can be confirmed by the cytogenetic studies. Males are more commonly affected, and in old age these are most common. In this, the lymphocyte looks like the normal lymphocytes, but they are not actually blast. They have a checkerboard like chromatin, thick and checkerboard like chromatin. In this, marrow examinations are not required. Peripheral blood smear and the clinical histories are suggestive. Then further it can be confirmed by the cytogenetic or the flow cytometric studies in which the monoclonal proliferations can be proved. Liver can be involved partially or sinusoidally. This is the CLL, chronic lymphocytic. You can see this is like the mature lymphocyte, only the size is bit bigger and thick chromatin with checkerboard like. This is the smudge cells. Due to the fragility of the cytoplasm, so when we prepare the smear, it separates and give an appearance of the smudge cells. So this is a characteristic finding in the peripheral blood smear. So when you look at the peripheral blood and you are seeing lots of smudge cells along with lymphocytosis, then you have to rule out chronic lymphocytic leukemia. You have to think in this line and do further investigations to rule out this. Now in case of CLL, hypogammaglobulinemia occurs. Since due to hypogammaglobulinemia, the patient will be immunocompromised and will have a recurrent infections. 50% will have develop antibodies against RBCs or the platelet, leading to anemia and the thrombocytopenia. And SLL and CLL both are the same entities and it cannot be classified separately from lymphomas. On immunohistochemistry, it expresses the pan B cell markers, that is CD19, 20, 23 and CD5. Chromosomal translocations are rare. Clinical features are non-specific and treatment is by the chemotherapy and the immunotherapy. And if you get loss of pro-lymphocytes, then it is known as the pro-lymphocytic leukemias and it has a worse outcome. Richter syndrome. In Richter syndrome means whenever there is a transformation from the low grade lymphoma to the large cell lymphomas or the high grade lymphomas, then it is known as the Richter syndromes, and it can occur in any type of lymphomas during the course of treatment or during the course of disease, and it has a bad prognosis. Now coming to the second entity, that is the follicular lymphomas. As the name indicates, it arises from the germinal B center. These are indolent lymphomas and are asymptomatic. These are associated with the BCL2 gene rearrangement with translocations 14 and 18. Clinical features: patient presents with the generalized painless lymphadenopathy, and they may have a history of waxing and waning lymphadenopathy. That means that patient will complain that lymphadenopathy was present for the 15-20 days or 1 month and suddenly it has started decreasing in size. Then again after some month it has again increased. Marrow involvements are present. 40% have tumor cells in the blood which may resemble CLL. Occasional involvement of splenic white pulp and the hepatic portal triads can occur. And again in this Richter syndrome can occur, that is it can transform to the diffuse large B cell lymphomas or any other high grade lymphomas. Coming to the prognostic factors, FLIP2 study identifies 5 risk factors for progression. Beta 2 microglobulins are increased or the bone marrows are involved, hemoglobin is less than 12 gram per deciliter, and the longest diameter of the largest involved node is more than 6 centimeters and the patient age is more than 60 years. So all these comes under the bad prognostic factors. 5-year progression free survivals based on number of risk factors can be calculated. If the patient has 0 risk factors, then 80% survival rate is patients. If it has 1 or 2 risk factors, then 51%, and if it has 3 to 5 risk factors, then it will be less than 51%. These are graded according to the number of centroblast presents per field. Grade 1 is 0 to 5, grade 2 is 6 to 15, and grade 3 is more than 15 centroblast per high power field if we get. Now grade 3 has centrocytes present. Now grade 3s are again subdivided into 2 types, 3A and 3B. In grade 3A, centrocytes are present along with the centroblast, and grade 3B, solid seeds of centroblast are seen. Nodal effacement by closely packed follicles containing small cleaved cells without nucleoli, that is the centrocytes, and larger non-cleaved cells with moderate cytoplasm, open chromatin and multiple nucleoli, that is the centroblast, are seen. Minimal or no apoptotic cells or tingible body macrophages are present. Mantle zones are attenuated and they are positive for CD10, CD19, CD20 is strongly positive along with CD79A, BCL2 within the follicles. These are the microscopy. You can see the different type of follicles, and a few cells have this like notched like notches, and this gives an appearance like buttocks, so these are known as the buttock cells because of the morphology. Now coming to the next entity, that is the Burkitt lymphoma. It's a high grade B cell lymphomas characterized by CD10 and c-MYC translocations. It can be present as either endemic, sporadic or the immunodeficiency patients. 80% of the children present with this type of lymphomas, Burkitt lymphomas, curable with aggressive therapy in only 60% of the cases. It may present as B cell acute lymphoblastic leukemias, which are known in the older classification, that is the FAB L3 or the Burkitt leukemias. But now these are not classified as a B cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia in WHO. It can also involve the ileocecum region. CD5 positive Burkitt lymphomas are present in the elderly patients with leukemic tumor cells resembling Burkitt lymphoma by morphology and the immunostains. Diffuse infiltrations of monomorphic medium-sized cells with abundant basophilic cytoplasm, non-cleaved round nuclei with coarse chromatin and 2 to 5 distinct nucleoli are seen in case of Burkitt lymphomas. The characteristic findings are the starry sky patterns. The starry sky patterns are due to the presence of numerous tingible body macrophages. Now, what are tingible body macrophages? These are nothing but macrophages which has engulfed the debris, the karyohectic cell debris, and these are present in the numerous amount, giving an starry-like appearance because of the high turnover of the cells. Now, bone marrows are usually infiltrated with these type of cells, and there is some preservations of adipose tissues, and the mitotic figures are also seen in that. This is present in the jaw, Burkitt lymphoma of the jaw, and you can see this is the starry sky appearance. These all are macrophages. These are mitosis, and these are the macrophages which are giving the starry sky like appearance, and these are the abnormal lymphoid cells. Now, mantle cell lymphomas are the intermediate grade B cell lymphomas, and they are characterized by the CD5 positive and CD23 negative, cyclin D1 positive and translocation 11-14. They arise from the mantle cells, nave pre-germinal center B lymphocytes present in primary lymphoid follicles and the mantle zones of the secondary follicles with non-mutated cells. More aggressive than small lymphocytic lymphoma or CLL and the marginal zone lymphomas. They have median survival of 3 years, and they again may transform to blastoid variant, but blastic transformation is uncommon. Blastoid variant means you will get the infiltrations of these mantle cells in the peripheral blood, giving rise to the leukemia like presentations, but they do not transfer to the large cell lymphomas. There are 3 patterns of tumor infiltrations are seen in this. One is the diffuse replacement of the entire lymph nodes, infiltration into the expanded mantle zone, or the vague nodular pattern. Tumor cells are monotonous small lymphocytes resembling centrocytes, mantle cells with scant cytoplasms, cleaved, slightly irregular or round nuclei and condensed chromatin. Tumor cells have no nucleoli, no large cells and no proliferation centers. May have prominent hyalinized vessels or scattered epithelioid histiocytes. This is the microscopy. You can see these are the abnormal lymphoid cells. Now, coming to the diffuse large cell lymphomas, they are most common form of non-Hodgkin lymphomas. They are present in adult. They have a large size and the diffuse pattern of growth, and there is dysregulations of BCL6 with translocations 14 and 80. They are associated with the T cell immunodeficiency. They are associated with Epstein-Barr virus, which occurs in immunodeficient patients. Primary effusion lymphoma is a type of diffuse large B cell lymphomas, and it are associated with the human herpes virus 8. They present as rapidly enlarging mass at a nodal or extranodal sites. Extranodal site Waldeyer rings are most commonly affected, and they have an aggressive course. Marginal zone lymphomas, as the name indicates, arise from the marginal zone. They have an indolent course, and they include 3 diseases arising from the post-germinal marginal zone B cells: nodal marginal zone, splenic and extranodal. Extranodal marginal zone lymphomas are also known as the MALT lymphomas or mucosa associated lymphoid tissue lymphomas, and the most common site is the stomach. They are low grade lymphomas, and they are associated with the Sjogren's syndrome and possibly other chronic inflammatory disease of salivary gland or Helicobacter pylori gastritis, hepatitis C virus. They are also associated with the Waldenström macroglobulinemia and the serum paraprotein. They are positive for CD19, 20, 22 and CD79A. This is the intestine involving the marginal zone lymphoma. Neoplastic cells are composed of variable numbers of marginal zones, that is centrocyte-like and monocytoid B cells, along with some plasma cells and scattered transformed B cells. Now coming to the next entity, that is the Hodgkin lymphomas. Hodgkin lymphomas encompass a distinctive group of neoplasm that are characterized by the presence of Reed-Sternberg cells. They arise in a single lymph node or a chain of lymph nodes and typically spread in a stepwise fashion to anatomically contiguous nodes. There are two types, classical and the non-classical. Non-classical is also known as nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin lymphomas. They have two peaks, young 15 to 35 years and older, that is more than 50 years of age. Patient presents with peripheral lymphadenopathy. Most common lymph nodes involved are cervical and the supraclavicular, that is 60 to 80% people present with cervical and the supraclavicular lymphadenopathy, followed by axillary lymph nodes. The involved lymph nodes are non-tender with no overlying skin changes and the nodes are discrete and freely movable. Patient may have B symptoms, that is B symptoms which will complain of high grade fever, drenching night sweats and the weight loss. Some patient may have skin rashes also, but these three are classical presentation of the B symptoms: fevers, night sweats and the weight loss. Now fever, the patient can have off and on fever. The patient will complain of having fever for 10 days, 15 days, then suddenly he will be okay and again the fever will reappear. On histopathology, mononuclear Hodgkin cells and multinucleated Reed-Sternberg cells are seen in a cellular background rich in lymphocytes, histiocyte, plasma cells and or eosinophils and neutrophils. So classically, Hodgkin lymphomas are diagnosed on the basis of RS cells. So there are two types, classical and the non-classical. Classicals are again of four subtypes. They are the nodular sclerosis, mixed cellularity, lymphocytes rich and lymphocyte depletion. And non-classical is the lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin lymphoma. This is the pathogenesis of the neoplastic cells. You can see the cell of origin is the clonal mutated B cell receptor rearrangement occurs in the B cell, germinal center B cells. This undergoes malignant transformations. Then there is a B cell switch off due to DNA hypermethylation, histone modifications and the deregulated transcription factors. This conforms the B cells into the Hodgkin Reed-Sternberg cells. Then this further undergoes switch on and form the reprogrammed Hodgkin Reed-Sternberg cells. That is the restored receptor signaling, and CD20, CD19 receptors are expressed, CD19, and targeted therapies are used against these receptors, rituximab or tocilizumab. So due to this, the RS cell, the germinal center B cells are transformed into the Reed-Sternberg cells, which is the classical or the pathogenesis of the Hodgkin cells. The most significant finding is the RS cells. These are of different kinds of giant cells. They are usually derived from the B lymphocytes and they are enormous bilobed or multilobed nucleus, exceptionally prominent nucleoli and abundant, usually slightly eosinophilic cytoplasms. Particularly characteristic are cells with two mirror image nuclei and each containing a large acidophilic nucleolus surrounded by a clear zone, features that impart an all-eye appearance. You can see this is the morphology. This is the owl-eye bilobed nucleus with the prominent nucleoli and this is the halo around it. So this is the classical RS cells. These are multilobulated RS cell, the other variants of the RS cells. This is the classic RS cells. This is the mononuclear variant, single nucleus. This is the lacunar variant. You can see the lacuna, that is the clear space around the nucleus, and this is the lymphohistocytic variant, that is the LP. Nodular sclerosis type. It is the most common subtype and they are most commonly present in females, adolescents and the young adults. WHO has defined it as subtype with lacunar type RS cells with collagen bands that surround at least one nodule in the lymph node. In the histology, we see the clear space, that is due to the formalin fixation. Due to formalin fixation, the cytoplasm shrinks and retracts, leaving the H or Rh cells in a clear space, a feature that gives rise to the term lacunar cells. As we have seen in this is the lacunar cells. This is the clear space, and this clear spaces is created due to the formalin fixation. It has a nodular growth pattern as the name indicates, and background is consist of reactive cells, that is the lymphocytes, histiocytes, plasma cell, eosinophils and the neutrophils. So malignant cells are only the Rh cells, and these all are the reactive. This is the nodular growth pattern, and you can see the banded sclerosis around the nodule. So this is a characteristic finding. Now mixed cellularity type is a subtype of classical Hodgkin lymphomas with scattered classical HRS cells in a diffuse or vaguely nodular background of mixed inflammatory cells without nodular sclerosing fibrosis. It may have interfollicular growth patterns, and Hodgkin or RS cells usually are easy to find in this type of subtypes. Capsules are not thickened and no banded sclerosis are seen. This is the classic RS cells. You can see numerous classical RS cells seen in the mixed cellularity, and the background consists of the lymphocyte, histiocytes, eosinophil. These are the red color eosinophils. So it has a mixed cellularity. Now lymphocyte rich classical Hodgkin lymphomas, they present as nodular but rarely diffuse pattern can also present. In this we see lymphohistiocytic variant RS cell that have a delicate multi-lobed puffy nucleus, popcorn cells. Predominantly small lymphocytes are seen, but in these eosinophils and the neutrophils are usually absent. And in the diffuse form, the surrounding small lymphocytes has a T cell predominance. It has a better prognosis than the other types. Now lymphocytic depleted are the least common variant, less than 1%. And most common in the older patient. HIV positive individuals are most commonly affected. They present with abdominal lymphadenopathy with involvement of spleen and mesenteric nodes. On microscopy we see diffuse and hypocellular infiltrates, large number of RS cells with sarcomatous variants, and paucity of other inflammatory cells. So in this, like other, we don't see the background of mixed cellularity of neutrophil, lymphocyte, histiocytes or the eosinophils. In this, the background is either sclerosed and there is a depletion of the lymphocytes and the other reactive cells. And RS cells will have a bizarre morphology. This you can see the depletions of the lymphocytes, and here all the bizarre RS cells are present which have a sarcomatous, means they become spindle also. These all spindle are also the RS cells. The nodular lymphocytes predominant Hodgkin lymphomas. This is the non-classical type and rarely seen. It differs from classical Hodgkin lymphoma in terms of clinical features as well as immunophenotype. RS cell variants are known as in this, that is lymphocyte predominant RS cell, that is LP-RS cells, and it expresses full program of B cells antigens. It has an indolent course. These are most often diagnosed in early stages, and B symptoms are usually absent. These are early it was known as the lymphocytic or the histiocytic predominance Hodgkin lymphomas. Accordingly, then the RS cell was known as LH cells. But WHO World Health Organization has now designated this cell as LP cells, that is lymphocytes predominant cells, and they are usually found within the nodule, but rarely we may get extranodular also. Lymphocyte predominant cells have vesicular polylobated nuclei and distinct but small, usually peripheral nucleoli without perinuclear halos. Absence of classic RS cells. There is absence of completely classic RS cells, and background consists of predominantly lymphocytes. Clusters of epithelioid histiocytes may be present. Eosinophil plasma cells and the neutrophils are absent in this case. So this background, on the basis of background also we can differentiate between the classical and the non-classicals. These are the lymphocytic predominant RS cells, and background is the lymphocytes. Now the difference between the lymphocytic predominant and the classical. On the depending on the morphology we can differentiate, but final confirmation will be done by the immunophenotype. In the lymphocytic predominant we get the polylobulate, that is the LP type of RS cells, and they are positive for CD20 and CD45 but negative for CD30. But classical RS cells are positive for CD15 and CD30 but negative for CD45. So CD45 and CD30 will differentiate between these two. So you should always remember classical are positive for CD30 and negative for CD45, whereas the lymphocytic predominant or the non-classicals are negative for CD30 and positive for CD45. This is the staging of Hodgkin lymphomas. If only single lymph node is present, then it is stage 1. If both sides above the diaphragm, then it is stage 2, and if it comes below the diaphragm, then stage 3, and if multiple are involved, then it is stage 4. All the organs are disseminated if it is. Now coming to the Ann Arbor staging for lymphomas. In the stage 1, there is involvement of a single lymph node region or a single extranodal site. In stage 2, there is involvement of 2 or more lymph node regions or lymphatic structures on the same side of the diaphragm alone, or with involvement of a limited contiguous extra lymphatic organ or tissue. Then in the stage 3, there is involvement of lymph node region on both sides of the diaphragm, which may include the spleen or limited contiguous extra lymphatic organ or tissues or both. And in the case of 4th stage, there is diffuse or disseminated foci of involvement of 1 or more extra lymphatic organs or tissues with or without associated lymphatic involvement. And all stages are further subdivided according to the absence or the presence of B symptoms, which I said earlier. B symptoms include high grade fevers, night sweats, and or weight loss, that is more than 10% of body weight over 6 months prior to diagnosis. Now staging is more important in Hodgkin lymphoma compared to non-Hodgkin lymphomas, and prognosis is more dependent on histology and clinical parameter than the stage at presentations. In non-Hodgkin lymphoma, sometimes the staging is done just to identify a minority of patients who can be treated with local therapy or the combined modality treatment. Now coming to the prognosis, that is the International Prognostic Index, which include age more than 60 years, LDH is increased, the ECOG performance status. ECOG is the Eastern Cooperative Oncology Group Society, which has developed certain parameters to study the performance status. If it is more than or equal to 2, Ann Arbor stage 3 or 4, and number of extranodal disease site is more than 1. This all carries the bad prognosis, and accordingly these are given the risk factors, and their risk factors are calculated, and 3 years, 5 years survival rates are calculated on the basis of this. Now in case of any lymphomas, whether Hodgkin or non-Hodgkin lymphomas, how will you investigate a patient? When a patient comes to you and you are suspecting the patient has a lymphomas, so first you should take the detailed history with attention to presence or absence of clinical symptoms, careful physical examination emphasizing node change, Walde's ring, and size of liver and spleen. So you should check whether it is a contiguous spread of the lymph node or whether it is non-contiguous. Then routine investigation, blood investigation, which includes complete blood count, peripheral blood smear, liver function test, kidney function test, uric acid and the LDH. Uric acid and the LDH will tell you about the high turnover of the cells. Then imaging, CT scan, PET scan, chest x-rays are done to see the involvement of the various other site, extranodal sites. And then final confirmations are done by the biopsies and the FNAC of the nodes. And if again doubt is there, we will go for the immunohistochemistry to know the type of lymphomas or the further prognostic mutations. Both type of lymphomas, Hodgkin and non-Hodgkins, are treated with the chemotherapy, radiotherapy or combined depending on the stage of the presentation and the condition of the patients. These are the two modalities. Now at the end, I would like to discuss how will you differentiate. If anyone asks you the difference between the Hodgkin lymphomas and the non-Hodgkin lymphomas, after going through all the different subtypes and the clinical features, now you must have understood that Hodgkin lymphomas are often localized to a single axial group of nodes, that is cervical, mediastinal or para-aortic, where in the non-Hodgkin lymphoma there are multiple peripheral nodes are involved and they are non-contiguous spread. whereas in the Hodgkin lymphomas they are orderly spread by contiguity. Mesenteric nodes and the Walde rings are rarely involved in case of Hodgkin lymphomas, but mesenteric nodes are more commonly involved in case of non-Hodgkin lymphomas. Extranodal involvements are uncommon, where it is more common in Hodgkin lymphomas. Hodgkin lymphomas are more common in the young person in contrast to non-Hodgkin lymphomas. B symptoms are more commonly present in the Hodgkin lymphomas. They spread by contiguous, as I said earlier, contiguous nodal groups, but here multiple remote group and non-contiguous group of nodes are involved. Most of the Hodgkin lymphomas are present early stage 1 and 2, but in non-Hodgkin lymphomas generally patient presents late, that is stage 3 and 4. Hodgkin lymphomas, the most common nodal group involved are thoracic, followed by para-aortic and mesenteric, whereas in the non-Hodgkin lymphomas, mesenteric are the most commonly involved. Their extranodal disease are more commonly present in the non-Hodgkin lymphomas compared to the Hodgkin lymphomas. So I hope you have understood the neoplastic pathologies of lymphoid, and at the end of the lecture now you must be able to differentiate between the Hodgkin lymphomas and the non-Hodgkin lymphomas, and what is the definition of Hodgkin and the non-Hodgkin lymphomas and the subtypes. Though it is difficult to understand lymph nodes, but basic points we should remember is, as I discussed earlier, the basic anatomy, lymphoid organs, primary and the secondary lymphoid organs, and how the patient presents, because the most important when you become a doctor is to diagnose a patient. Treatment depends on the diagnosis. So pathology is the science behind all the cure, and you should be able to diagnose when a patient walk in with a certain problems. Thank you so much for patient listening.